Yeah. This ain't about gossip. This ain't about noise. This is about ownership, clarity, strategy, power. Mind your business. Level up, no limits. Stop grinding in it. Start building a vision. CEO mindset. Boss moves relentless. Cut the confusion. It's time to get intentional. You've been working overtime, still feel behind. Chasing every trend like the finish line. Busy all day, but the profit don't climb. That ain't a hustle issue, it's a strategy sign. Everybody talking, everybody selling. Blueprints, copy paste, but nobody telling. You the power source, you the engine. Clarity first, then scale with intention. No more guesswork, no more doubt, no more building from burnout. You don't need louder, you need a line. Stop working and start owning what's mine.
Hello, everybody. Hey, y'all. Today is the day I have a special guest, and I'm so excited to have her here. I'm your host, Cookie Cade. Thanks for joining Girl Mind Your Business. My special guest today is none other than Tiffany D. Bell. Tiffany is the founder of Nonprofit CEO, where she helps women, especially women of color, start, structure, fund, and grow nonprofits. How about that? Somebody that actually helped doing nonprofits. Tiffany has served in the nonprofit leadership, philanthropy, ministry, military service. She's done it all. Let me bring Tiffany to the stage right now so we can go ahead and hear what Tiffany has to say. Hey, Tiffany, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, hey, Cookie. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit, I just skimmed through it, but tell us a little bit about, people don't know about nonprofit. I have a nonprofit and I'm trying to learn. So tell us something that we should know about nonprofit.
Well, I think that very much like what you said, a lot of people that I've come across in years, they'll start a nonprofit, they go through all the trouble of getting the paperwork done. But then once the paperwork done, it just kind of sits there. They have a hard time understanding how to create like their program, like what's the marketing like, of course, the fundraising. So, it's building the structure is one thing, but then helping it stand up and actually be able to meet the needs in the community. That's where I find that a lot of people struggle. I started in the nonprofit field many years ago, but had my first opportunity to be an executive director for a pregnancy resource center located here on the coast of Gulfport, Mississippi, back in 2013, I think, 2013, maybe. It's been a minute, right? And when I first came to that pregnancy resource center, they had about 30 days worth of money in the bank and no, they were 30 days out from closing with about $7,000 in the bank. And so, that was shocking to me. And I was very, very passionate about the ministry. My background, was adopted. So I really understand what women go through when they have, when they've gone through an unplanned pregnancy. I feel like I'm a unique story in that, like, my mom chose to follow through with the pregnancy and follow up with an adoption plan. So being able to meet with women that are experiencing unplanned pregnancy and just help them to see that in the end it can work out for them. So the ministry of the Pregnancy Resource Center was very important to me. So 30 days out, $7,000 in the bank, I really did not want to see it go south. And so it was really coming there at that Pregnancy Resource Center where I really learned the backbone again of not just the nonprofit world, but really it's the marketing and engagement that needs to happen with you and your community in order for people, one, to know that you exist, two, to get them to want to engage in the mission of the nonprofit, and then three, to really make a difference so that you are helping other people get the help and the resources and things that they need in order to live a healthy life. And so that's been my personal ministry since then. I've since left the Pregnancy Resource Center world. I still work in the nonprofit world, and I have a nonprofit consulting agency. But again, the goal is just helping people to see the needs in the community and pairing them with the people that can really make a difference. And so I do that day in and day out.
Now that's great. Now, there's no way I could have said all of that. So basically, what you do is help people show up when the resources are limited.
Yes, yes, yes.
And that's really great. I started my nonprofit because, like we've had the conversation. My sister was a substance abuser, so I started that because we were supposed to do it together, but
Mhm, mhm.
she's passed, so I'm just going on and I'm trying to make it work.
Very good, very good, very good.
Yeah, yeah. So just tell me, what do you what's your vision for women that are needing help to get started?
Well, I think it's so let me ask this question just so I know what area I'm targeting. So typically when I'm helping women, you're saying not women necessarily that need resources, but you're saying the women who may be female founders of a nonprofit. They're looking to get started in the nonprofit world. So what I would say there is, first of all, I'd encourage them to just do the general homework. Oftentimes, again, in the world of algorithms, most people, I think we forget that we're in a bubble, right? So what I'm finding, or what we see a lot of here on the coast, is that people really are passionate about making a difference. And in their mind, they're thinking that there's nothing being done to meet the need. And sometimes it's a matter of them not, the needs are being met. It may not necessarily be met in the avenue that they may have envisioned. But again, because we're in the world of algorithms, they are oftentimes unaware that there are already resources and things available within the community that are meeting that need. So I would definitely tell them to do a thorough community survey to just make sure that there's no duplication of efforts. So you don't necessarily have to go and start a nonprofit because there's a need being met, an unmet need, an unmet need. Sometimes it's just a matter of digging and checking to see and what's being done, and then maybe going and partnering with that organization themselves so that you can take care of a portion of the leg of the work that they're not necessarily doing. Or if you decide that, hey, I still want to go through the path of creating a nonprofit, again, just checking and doing that community assessment, you can really look and see what's being done, what's not being done, so that you are, again, you're creating that niche in the middle of the unmet need. So, again, community assessment is really important. Again, just so you're not duplicating efforts, you can find the area that you can best help the community. And then also looking for opportunities to collaborate so that you're not taking on the full brunt of having to do all the work again, or again, multiplying efforts. And then I also think that a lot of people aren't familiar with community foundations and the work that they can do to help a smaller nonprofit or a new nonprofit that's, again, very passionate about making a difference. So all states have community foundations, and typically there are multiple community foundations within each state. And those community foundations typically are going to cover a certain region. So again, because I'm in the state of Mississippi, I'll reference Mississippi quite a bit through our talk, but what I'm saying was going to apply nationwide. So in the state of Mississippi, I don't know how many counties we have, but there are a good bit of counties, right? But we only have 7 community foundations. So those 7 community foundations, they all have a certain number of counties. The largest community foundation is of the northern half of Mississippi, and they are called Create Foundation. And then I'm director for donor relations for a community foundation here in South Mississippi, and we cover the lower 6 counties. So the thing that a community foundation can do for a nonprofit is, one, help them with funding. So that's a really, that's the thing that, especially with all the changes in our one local economy, two with
Right.
the cabinet that is in place right now, there are a lot of resources and funding sources that nonprofits had available to them, a few years ago that now, no longer will be available. A lot of federal funding has come to an end. Well, again, in working with the community foundation, you may find an avenue with them that can help you, one, find grants that are eligible for you based upon what your mission is. Two, there are a lot of nonprofits that will partner with the community foundation that will help them create an endowment so they can create funding for themselves like forever. And so the cool thing about an endowment is that, you can get your donors to give a pot of money, and then that community foundation, they're going to take that money, they're going to invest it in the market. And because your money is being pulled together with their money and money with all the other donors on the coast, they get a larger return, right? And so let's say you have $25,000 that's been given to the community foundation, right, on your behalf as an agency. And then let's say you have a 10% return. So that's another $2,500 out of that $25,000 of interest that's grown. You could take that $2,500, and that would depend upon, again, the community foundation, how much they actually release annually with their endowments. But a lot of times that $2,500, the agency will just keep that money so the corpus itself will grow. So then, you go from 25,000 to $28,000, right? So now that $28,000 that that gets invested next year, there's another $2,800 that gets added to it. So over the course of time, your pot of money grows exponentially. We know as investors ourselves and planning for your retirement, the importance of long-term investment with the capital growing over and over and over throughout the years. And that creates more stability for your nonprofit. And then when time comes, when you want to be able to pull a portion of that money back into the nonprofit itself, you can do that. Another wonderful thing about working with community foundations is that, they can act as your fiscal sponsor. So a lot of times nonprofits, you start a nonprofit, you're very passionate about the thing that you want to do, but again, you don't have money for it. And a
Right.
thing that most people do not understand, or they just assume, oh, I'll start a nonprofit. That way I can get qualified for a grant. Yes, you might qualify for a grant. That's true. But the part that most people don't realize is that nobody wants to give money to a nonprofit that's one, a baby, or two, that they consider to be a black hole, right? So, there's qualifications that typically are written in the very fine print. And that is, unless you've been around for 3 years, most funders are not going to grant you. And if they do grant you funds, it's because there's a relationship between you and that organization, and they're giving because they know Tiffany Bell and the reputation that I carry, right, as executive director for that particular organization. But again, if it's a young organization, they may or may not give. So that's the value of having a community foundation acting as your fiscal sponsor. You can take that community foundation, partner with them, and then apply for grant funding, even if you're just 3 days old, and you can get it because that community foundation, basically, you're applying for the grant underneath their umbrella, and that opens the door for you to receive funding, especially during those first 3 years of infancy until you grow and you're more stable. And people will give knowing that the community foundation have been around for dozens of years, decades even so. And so because of that, the stability they offer opens can be shared with that nonprofit. So again, for new women that are wanting to start a nonprofit, those are the things that I think most people just aren't aware of and don't really know the beauty and the value of collaborating
Right.
specifically with the community foundation when you're just getting started.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I
Wow.
said a mouthful.
Wow. Wow. But let's go back to say, and let's take baby steps.
Okay.
One, two, three. If I'm starting out, what is the first thing that I need to do or know, or who do I need to contact?
All right. So when you say just starting out, like if you have not actually legally started the nonprofit,
No,
then
I already
one,
have the nonprofit. I have my EIN. I'm set up. I don't know what to do.
okay, so are you registered? Do you have your 501(c)(3), or are you just a
Registered,
nonprofit? 'Cause
done all of that too.
all that's done. So the next thing at that point, again, is all about collaboration. It is making sure that you're partnering with some individuals that already have a name per se in the community, because then you can lean on their audience and they can help you grow. You make sure that you have all of your marketing taken care of. If you've not already gotten a website, gotten your social media handles, recruiting for volunteers. Have you developed your program? Like, you may have an idea of what you want to do, but have you actually, set up your policies and procedures? Have you recruited? Well, if you're 501(c)(3), at that point, you already have a board. Are you bringing people in with you and your board to put together a plan for the year? Like, what's your strategy going to be to one, reach people that can partner with you for donations. What's your strategy for reaching people that may actually need your resources? What's your strategy for growth in the long run? So you need an annual plan, so to speak. And so those are all the foundational things. You need people, must collaborate. Again, board, funding, volunteers, people that you're actually going to reach, and marketing and branding because people need to know that you exist. People need to know how you're going to make a difference in their lives. People need to know how they can partner with you. Again, whether it's because they want to help give or they want to receive your services. So the foundational pieces that you really need, even for a for-profit business, technically, most of that, there's a lot of crossover and you'll need that with your nonprofit. And then also make sure you have a CPA on board, so that whenever it comes to the filing of your documentation, especially, at the end of that first year when it's time to file your 990, having a CPA on board that can make sure that you are doing your annual report to the IRS and the reports that need to happen with the Secretary of State. And if for some reason you do have a grant, you need to make sure you know how to do those grant reports. So again, it's a lot, but it's not very difficult.
Yeah. And you were saying all of that, and it made me think about you had a career path that went from the military to nonprofit. Make the connection for me.
Okay. So on a personal note, back in 2000, my husband was stationed here at Keesler Air Force Base in Mississippi. I was in the military too, but I worked for the Air National Guard for the state of South Carolina. And so he had an accident. He was driving to South Carolina for Thanksgiving and had a car accident. I was just leaving my little base in South Carolina, headed home for the holidays, and he had an accident. I saw his accident, and it scared me because I had like a 2.5 hour drive and I was worried about falling asleep. So when I saw his accident, I was like, "Oh, I don't want that to happen to me." So I decided I'd pull over, go inside a gas station, get something to drink, try to wake up. Well, again, it's Sunday before Thanksgiving. He has driven at that point 10 hours on his way home to meet his family to do their, holiday celebrations. And I have on a military outfit when I go into the gas station. Ken is he's inside of the police car filing a report, but he sees me, the girl with the Air Force uniform on, and he's in the Air Force. He's like, he asked the cop to stop filing a report. He needed to go talk to me. So he wanted to talk to me. Ooh, sorry about that. He wanted to talk to me because with the Air Force outfit on, that meant there was lodging nearby because, again, he just totaled his car. And so he asked me for a ride. I'm still not sure to this day why I said yes. I'm very happy that I did, mind you, but we like really hit it off. And so that is how I actually ended up in Mississippi. Now, fast forward 8 years later, he has an accident and dies unplanned. It's just like, he had an accident on the job and I had to make a decision on what I was gonna do. At that point, I could move back to Carolinas or I could stay here in Mississippi. And so his accident was on a, Thursday. I remember waking up following Sunday, and the Lord told me, he said, "You're at home." Because 'Cause I'd asked the question, I was like, "Well, do I go back home? Do I stay?" And the Lord made it very clear that I was to stay here, and so I did, but I decided I would take a year off. And I took that year off, just really want to be present for my children, wanting to make sure that again, my husband's death was unplanned. I want to make sure that I was there and available for them. And so I took the year off. I also, and that, so his accident was in February. The next month, I was at church, and this young lady from the Pregnancy Resource Center that I mentioned earlier, she came to our church and spoke. And so when she told her story, the thing is, like, I promise you, Cookie, I thought that she was just like if there was my story could have been written out page by page,
Yeah.
she was reading it page by
Wow.
page. And I remember thinking, like, oh my goodness, like I just was really distraught because it's just one of those moments when you know in your heart that the Lord is talking to you. Like
Right.
he is reading my mail. And I remember thinking to myself then, I was like, well, if I ever have any free time, I will go there and volunteer. Now, again, at that point, I was working in a radiology department and had been an x ray tech for many years. That's what I did in the Air Force. And when after Ken's accident, again, I took the time off, and the Lord reminded me a couple of months later. He was like, "Oh, you got free time. Remember your promise? You would go and volunteer at that pregnancy resource center." And I was like, "Oh, I did say that." So I remember walking in there the very first day, and they were like, and then because they knew that I'd done radiology, I had some background in ultrasound,
Mhm.
they were like, "Oh, we've been praying for you." And I wasn't sure what they meant. I just assumed that maybe they knew about my husband's accident, but they were
Right.
like, "No." They'd been praying for someone with my skill set to be able to come and assist with ultrasound. So that was how I transitioned out of full-time medical to, well, full-time radiology into the medical side in the with nonprofit. And, that was the beginning of a whole totally new avenue for me.
And the rest is history.
Yes, as they would say, the rest is history. Yes.
Yes. I mean, you lived through so much, and all of this time, I thought you were already married when you were in the military.
Nope, I was single. Nope, I was single whenever I met Ken, and yeah, and then, again, I was just part-time military, he was full-time, so came here and adjusted to the full-time military lifestyle, which was
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. And saving you actually saved that organization
Yes,
by
yes,
helping them through
yes,
all of
yeah,
that because,
yes,
like they said, they've been praying for you. They
yes.
didn't know who was their God saying, but you were it.
Yeah,
And
and
now
I have to say they were a huge, they were a blessing to me as well because the staff, it was so they were just very supportive, and again, I'm grieving the loss of my husband, and I needed something else to focus on, so,
Right.
I went with the intention of giving, but honestly, like, as most people would say in the nonprofit field, especially those that volunteer on a regular basis, their intent is to give, but what really is that they end up being poured into, and so it was a win-win either, for both sides.
And that's just great. So tell me about the birth of you're the founder of Nonprofit CEO. Tell me
Okay,
about the birth of that and
okay.
how you help leaders through Nonprofit CEO.
Okay. Well, again, as I mentioned, when I first came to that pregnancy resource center, man, it was a struggle. I was concerned again about making sure that the organization would live. And again, I'd never ran a nonprofit before, so brand new to the world. So I ended up calling some friends of mine, and one friend in particular was Dorothy Wilson. And Dorothy, at the time, I don't know if Dorothy was I don't remember if she was still at the local newspaper, but I think that she was just beginning with a magazine that she is the editor in chief or owner of now. And a few months at being in the resource center, also reached out to another good friend of mine, and her name's Kern Cherry. And so both Kern and Dorothy became mentors of mine for several years. So we did lots of projects, lots of things together. If you saw one, you see the other two. Like we traveled together. We were knotted together for many, many years. And through our friendship, we ended up creating a conference called Success Women's Conference. The Success Women's Conference was a huge success. So we did that for, I think, maybe 6, maybe 7 years together. It was the Essence magazine at one point named us as the largest professional conference for Black women in the state of Mississippi. And we had women from all over the nation, honestly, all over the world. I think 25 states and maybe up to 7 other countries from around the world come into the conference. And so we had some really great speakers, Lisa Nichols, Robin Roberts, Les Brown, just a variety of different people that came and contributed to the platform of mentoring our ladies. And so it was through success that Nonprofit CEO was formed.
Okay.
Dorothy primarily worked with the women that attended the conference that were in the corporate field. Kern, she mainly worked with the women that were in the entrepreneur field. And I would mentor the women that were in the nonprofit field. And so that became a lane for each one of us to be able to, again, help women to be successful in whatever lane it was that they were in. And so that began our journey really with Nonprofit CEO. It was birthed out of Success Women's Conference. And then once the conference began really hitting off, we connected with the company. You're familiar with Black CEO. Black CEO really helped us to put Success Women's Conference on the map, which is how I ended up connecting with you. And so they helped me again help put nonprofit CEO on the map as well. And from there, I discovered a whole new world of technology and AI and just all the things. And so, when it comes to marketing now, I feel like I'm far better equipped to help our nonprofit CEOs really make an impact by helping them create with systems and tools and things again to help advance their mission.
Okay. That's another great story.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
you have
yes.
so many good stories. But tell me what your biggest challenge and lesson is through the whole process.
My biggest challenge and lesson. So, getting over myself, you know, not allowing fear to hold me back. Like, I just did not know, truly, honestly, I didn't know who I was or what I was capable of as a person. I turned 50 a couple of years ago, and that was really eye opening for me. I've always been a believer in Christ, and I understand getting your identity in Christ, right? But even that is a process. And learning through Nonprofit CEO, I have been able to bring on, discover things, skill sets within myself that I did not know existed. Again, with Nonprofit CEO, I learned how to better engage with clients. Like I was really good at sitting in a counseling room with people and hearing them and giving them feedback, but with nonprofit CEO, it's a different audience. It's helping people develop a vision for themselves, then helping them to develop a plan on how to actually cause that vision to come to pass, right? And then helping them to make further connections once the baby has been launched so that again that nonprofit can grow. And so, but if I'm not confident in myself, if I don't know who I am, then I can't really help you see who you are. And so that's been the biggest thing. I just the unfolding of Tiffany D. Bell over the past 5 years has been tremendous. I'm loving turning 50. I'm loving what it looks like on this side compared to, my first few years of life. And again, I do understand a large part of my insecurities, a large part of my personal growth and development has been because I've met really great mentors and things over the years. But the root of my insecurity, I think, really kind of goes back to the adoption. As a child, feeling as if you're unwanted, like, you don't know who you are. You don't know where you came from. You don't know, you don't, not even having like good role models in front of you to help invest in you. And so I just struggled with that for many, many years, even into adulthood. And so now I love being able to pour into other people and help them to know who they are, again, from a Christian perspective, but then even just knowing, when it comes to gifts, skills, and abilities and being able to apply those things so that, again, they can create better lives for themselves and the people that they're born to serve.
Okay, that's great. But before we get back to the conversation, I'll need to take a moment out for a commercial break. And this episode is brought to you by Black Women's AI Network, who is changing the landscape of technology for women in business. We help them learn artificial intelligence, lead with it, and create with it, not tomorrow, right now, because the future of AI does not get to happen without us. Okay, Tiffany, before we go, I don't know, my throat is, I had a full day, but before we go, before each episode, I do a cookie crumble, and that's just a tip, something to help women start their week and something positive that you have to say to women that are out there that want to start a nonprofit, finish something, or create something. Just give me a tip or your final words that you want to say.
I think I would encourage every woman. Again, this is for nonprofit, for profit, parenting, like it doesn't make a difference what area of life that you are in, what season that you're in now. If you're looking to birth something, I think the most important thing, first of all, is to believe. And based on what you believe, I think life is made up of a series of choices, right? And so if you believe wrong, then you choose wrong. But when you believe for good, when you have positive insight about yourself and about your situation, I think that you'll have a positive result. Again, one of the things for me that I realized in my self-discovery journey is that I had trained myself for many years to live in survival mode. I was always asking the questions is it safe? Is it right? Is it going to work? Will I have enough? Can I do it? And I have learned that those are not the questions that I need to ask myself. Now I need to be very focused on, well, what brings me energy? What part of my day yesterday made me smile? How can I reproduce that today? How can I not only reproduce it, but how can I scale it? What difference am I making in the world? How can I build on the things that are best in life for myself and for others? So without asking the question, your mind will not search for an answer. So don't tell yourself, hey, I cannot do it. When you put a period at the end of that sentence, your mind will stop there. You just fed her the truth that said, I cannot do it. But when you ask yourself a question, how can I get it done? Physically, your brain is going to automatically go search and try to find an answer. So that's a practical way of being able to move forward. First, believe that you can. And then, secondly, ask yourself, how can I? So that physically your brain will begin to search. And you just keep doing that same cycle over and over and over again until not only are you thriving, but the people that you're called to serve will be thriving along with you.
That's great, Tiffany. That's a Tiffany Bell prompt. Now, faith and
Ah,
trust has every season. And I know, like you say, it serves a purpose. I'm here for it because like you, I was terrified to do this. But somebody told me you just talk all the time. So you need to do this. And I did. I just set a date and I did it. And now I'm loving it.
good, 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 good. You're doing a great job. I watched a couple of your videos this week.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So for anybody that's like Tiffany, you want to start, stop, whatever you want to do. Tiffany has given us a wealth of information, and I have got to have you back. I, when I say a wealth of information, what we'll do is take each section and break it down and do a segment on that. We'll just do a nonprofit section.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Yes, so if you enjoyed this segment, will Tiffany let them know where they can find you if they have questions. Nonprofit CEO is a godsend. I've sent you 2 people I know, but and they are loving you.
Cool, 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 cool. So, if anybody wants to reach out, if you have any questions about your nonprofit, whether or not you're wanting to start a nonprofit, if you have one, you need questions, ideas on fundraising, maybe you serve on the board and you have questions with that. I can be found on Facebook, Instagram at Tiffany D Bell, or Nonprofit CEO are on either platform. Feel free to reach out, DM me. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. And thank you so much, Cookie, for having me.
All right, thank you for giving us your time. You have a great day, and we will be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.